Well, welcome to oh my goodness, I forgot to put my mic on. Okay, welcome to Martini Time. I'm wound up and ready to go. Now, last night we talked about, let me ask the frog. Okay, we talked about the smoke and the projector. So, let's continue that metaphor, because it's a great one. When you're in a movie theater, when people used to smoke, you could see the beam of the projector because of the smoke. So this is a great metaphor because the smoke is a metaphor. You could use the smoke as a metaphor for ignorance or unconsciousness. And so the beam of the projector is consciousness, the light of consciousness. And when you blow smoke in it, you blow the unconscious. You see the unconscious with the conscious, and the unconsciousness goes away. And this is how we evolve. This is how we wake up. The unconscious goes away because we see it. So I was, and I come here because I like to expose myself. I was laughing the other day because all of this data stuff about Facebook. Oh, they got my data. They got my privacy. They sold my data and all that. I don't care. I'm here to expose myself. You can have my data. What's my data? My name and my place where I live, or the pitiful data. I have no credentials. I have no authority. And and I realized that today when I was writing about Eckhart Tolle, and the question I write on these Eckhart Tolle practitioners and students, and I get a lot of insights there. And as I do in other places on Facebook, the interaction with Facebook creates insights for me. That's why I'm there. That's why I write. So I want to share that. I exposed it. I'm a flasher here, the full Monty. What you see is what you get, you see. So what I exposed myself to today was the truth about myself. That's the whole point. We want to I want to expose myself to the truth about myself. I want to expose my unconsciousness to consciousness, to awareness. I want to expose the smoke to the light. That's the whole point of being human, is exposing yourself to truth. But we don't like it when other people expose us. No. Are you calling me a racist? We don't like. But I have to expose myself to the truth for me to see it, because it's only in the beam of my light that I can see my truth. If you blow smoke at my light, I'm not going to see it. You see what I mean? You're blowing smoke at me. You see, I'm just going to see the little smoke. But if I blow smoke into my light, the smoke goes away, and I become more conscious. And more conscious means more energy, because unconsciousness is contracted energy. It's tied up in knots. It's tied up in patterns. It's tied up in darkness. It's like somebody in the cellar tied up, screaming, I don't hear anything. You hear anything? You see, so when we let the light shine on our unconscious, the energy that's tied up is now freed. Movies are all about this. It's metaphorical. It's metaphorical for spiritual realization, you see. And the whole point is I have to make myself conscious by having the intention to expose myself to myself. That's the point. I have to have that intention, or else I'm not going to do it. You blowing smoke at me, you see? You talking to me, you see? I have to see myself. And, excuse me a minute. It was a software update. Thanks, Facebook. So what did I realize today? Okay, well, I'll share this. I'll expose myself, all right? So I had this humongous awakening in 1968 in which I realized my true nature. and the nature of God and myself, and I wanted to share that. I wanted to be a teacher. That's usually what happens when you have a spiritual awakening. You want to teach it. You want to share it. Share the good news. That's a Christian thing. You've got to share the good news. Be a Seventh-day Adventist or a Jehovah's Witness and knock on the door and share the news. But that's institutional. So when you have a spiritual awakening yourself, you're kind of like a shaman. You're kind of like on your own. You have a person. Nobody understands what your experience is, but you are compelled to share it, to spread the good news. But you know, like the Buddha, that you can't communicate it. When the Buddha was awakened, he realized he could not communicate that awakening, and so he was not going to do it. And all the gods rose up and says, "Oh, no, Buddha, you got to communicate it." And so he did, knowing that he couldn't communicate it. It's like the impossible dream, the impossible act. There's no way to communicate it, but you must. And this is it's called the Bodhisattva of compassion, where he must communicate, but he knows he can't. So, but you do it anyway. So anyway, the point, getting back to what I wanted to share, what I realized today, was that after I had this existential or awakening, which I wanted, my life's purpose was to communicate this good news, then I began, well, how can I do it? Well, I need an authority. I need credentials. So I'll be a Christian minister. That'll give me credentials. Then people will listen to me. They'll come to my church and I can speak. And I'll have credentials. I can point to the church. So, but then they rejected my application. We know that. So then what am I going to do? Well, then a friend of mine was in yoga with a guru. I'll be a yoga spiritual teacher. So I went to that, dove in. But the teacher kept saying, no, not you. They were having this was the Light of Yoga Society, and it was created by Alice Christensen, who was an awakened yogi, and her guru was Swami Rama. I don't have his picture. Yeah, here's his picture. So this was 1970, and they had a yoga society to create yoga teachers. That's what they were doing. They were creating, and I was going to be a yoga teacher. So I would have credentials now, you see. I would have authority. I would have credentials. So, but anyway, I kept getting, sorry, no, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. You need to cook a little longer. You need to do a little more disciplines. I got frustrated, so I left. And then I found Muktananda, Siddha Yoga. I could be a Siddha Yoga teacher, and Muktananda would be my authority, you see, the guru. Flow through me, you see. And so I dove into that full. And the neat thing about Muktananda was that it was a huge, kind of like a spiritual Disneyland. And if you wanted to be a Siddha meditation teacher, you just took a course and you could open up a Siddha meditation center and be a Siddha teacher. And I thought, whoa, that's for me. So I did that. Went to India, which I thought was a PhD, came to Blackstone, Virginia, and nobody wanted a Siddha meditation center. Nobody here in this rural conservative area, they didn't even know what yoga was in 1980. I like yogurt. What flavor do you like? So I couldn't be a Siddha yoga. I came here to this house, moved in here temporarily with my wife's mother, and I put my Baba picture on the wall, and she looked at that, said, "Boy, you can't put that up here. What will people think?" Right away. Oh, I'm not going to be a Siddha yoga teacher here. So I moved on, and let me see, what was next? Well, I got to 2005, and I'd given up on being a teacher, a spiritual path. I gave up on the whole thing, and I was just a photographer. And that's all I did. Took pictures. Didn't write, didn't meditate, didn't do nothing. I drank scotch, and well, I still do that, but anyway. So I had no spiritual path. I had the pox on it all, you see. But then I went up to Yogaville in 2005, and it kicked again. My path kicked. The awakening, it was still alive. It was still alive, you see. So now, but then I began meditating and writing, and it was alive. What shall it be? I want to be that. I want to be that spiritual teacher. Oh, so I'll open up a Blackstone Yoga Center, and which will be kind of like an outpost of Yogaville. So I had pictures of Swami Satchidananda and everything, and I had some Swamis from Yogaville come down, and they did a puja and the incense and the whole thing, and I had a yoga room, and I had statues, and oh, it was so pretty. And I was all ready, and it lasted a couple of months. Population is thin here, so it disappeared. So then what it was, well, it didn't work. So then I discovered Eckhart Tolle. And, I like Eckhart Tolle. And he says, you can be a spiritual teacher. You can be a spiritual teacher, and you can open up a Tolle Center. So I'll be a Eckhart Tolle teacher. So I opened up an Eckhart Tolle Center and got all the tapes. It was good because I got a 40% discount and I got all the talks. And one person came once. Kind of like an itinerant fellow, stopped in once, and that was it, you see. So I think that's the last time I tried to seek authority to be who I am. The point of this talk is, you don't need to have permission to be who you are. You don't need to have credentials, a degree. You don't need any authority to be who you are, what your heart tells you to be. So I created my teaching. I always wanted to be a minister, a priest, so I'm a priest. I'm a Martini priest, you see. And I'm serving communion. And you are watching this, so for 20 minutes, you're in my church. You see? And it doesn't cost you anything. And you don't have to leave any donations. And you don't have to come back. And but I am being who I am. I'm exposing myself. See? And so I'm not holding anything back from myself or from you. And that's basically what it is. Just don't hold anything back. And don't feel like you have authority from somebody else. That was the third temptation of the Buddha. So we passed the first two, desire and fear. And Mara came with the third one. I'll get him on the third one, which was duty. And he said to Buddha, by what authority do you sit here and leave your duty? You left your family, you left a little child, you left your father, your duty to be a king. You left it all, and you sit here under a tree. By what authority? Who gave you permission to do that? And the Buddha didn't say anything. He just pointed to the earth with his finger. The earth gave me permission. My being gave me permission. And the tree broke out in flowers, and flowers descended upon him. You see. So, that's kind of like what I wanted to share today. Just point to the earth. Your being is your authority to be who you are. Thanks for dropping in.